So I think when all's said and done, schools are about people, people are about relationships. I think the relationships we have here at Sidcot are positive and strong. And that's where, I have the best job in the world, because I see the potential that these young people are able to develop in their time here at Sidcot, and also, most importantly, where that takes them beyond school. The arts are a particular strength of the school, as you mentioned, Martin. I think one of the things that makes it so strong is that they take a very individualised approach. We're lucky that we've got a beautiful arts centre, so we've got a ceramics studio, we've got a fine arts studio, we've got a digital media studio, so there's plenty of different aspects of art that young people can get involved in. But we very much take the view that the art comes from within. And I think it's being an open community that is there to support each other, and in some ways that refers back to what I was saying about the philosophy of the school. That's the best way to make sure that there's good support. And I think that's the big difference about Sidcot, is we recognise our students for the individuals that they are. We don't assume that one size fits. But we're also really interested in how they develop as young people. They're going to go into a complex and complicated world beyond school, and therefore we feel that it is part of our role as educators to make sure that they are well supported, comfortable in their own skin, prepared to look at the world critically and say they can make a difference, and to go out and do so, but also enjoy their time at school. So our A-level results are consistently above national average, and so we don't believe in pressurising students, we don't believe in hot-housing them. We encourage them to think for themselves and to have the space and the challenge to think about their studies, but also think about who they are and the world around them. So we like to think that our students are very well contextualised in their learning, and it's not just all about drilling them through exams, because ultimately they won't have that support when they leave school. They need to be able to think for themselves, they need to be independent and autonomous in their learning, and we want to encourage those skills and develop those skills at school every bit as much as the academic outcomes, which I would say are as strong here as they are anywhere else.
So today we are visiting the Sidcot School. I'm here with the Headmaster, Mr. Ian Kilpatrick. Thank you for the invitation and your time and willingness to share your experience about your school. What would you say, what made you fall in love with the school so fast?
I think it's probably the quality of the relationships, and this does relate back to our roots as a Quaker school, because the early Quakers back in the 17th century were instructed to walk cheerfully over the world, answering that of God in everyone. Now, whether you interpret that as God or good really makes no difference, because what it does tell you is that we are here to see the best in each other. And I really felt that very strongly in my first association with Sidcot, and I think it's something that makes us slightly distinctive now, that the relationships which take place, whether those are between students and their peers, students and staff and colleagues, are positive relationships. And I think for a school, working with young people who, let's face it, are our future, to have that degree of empathy developed at school really puts them in a very strong position for what they're going to do beyond school. So I think when all's said and done, schools are about people, people are about relationships. I think the relationships we have here at Sidcot are positive and strong. I think that's probably the thing that first attracted me to the school and continues to interest me.
Exactly. So I see this when I was walking with Asa at the campus, that there's a positive atmosphere at your school, and you said that these are the relationship at your school as well. So really will try to see the best. I think it would be really helpful for our audience if you could describe your school maybe in your own words to somebody who hasn't heard about the Sidcot School before.
Sure. Well, Sidcot is a school that was founded in 1699, and it was founded by Quakers who believed that education was the way to encourage people to be equal in their relationships and also make a difference in the world. And I think that those are two of the principles that we try to capitalise on here at Sidcot now. So for us, We are a school set in a beautiful location in the middle of Somerset. We are focused on the academic potential of our students, but we're also really interested in how they develop as young people. They're going to go into a complex and complicated world beyond school, and therefore we feel that it is part of our role as educators to make sure that they are well supported, comfortable in their own skin, prepared to look at the world critically and say they can make a difference and to go out and do so, but also enjoy their time at school. And I think feeling comfortable, feeling confident is really important, and it's something that we encourage in all of our young people. We take the view that a happy student will make their potential and then add some in a way that an unhappy student won't realise their potential. So being comfortable, being happy, having positive relationships, those are the things that we think are equally important to academic rigour and academic success. And we don't think it's either or. We think you can have both.
Okay, great. So could you describe how you do that you have the perfect integration between the academic part and the other side?
We've developed over the last few years our own teaching pedagogy, which is called the Sidcot Learning Wheel. And if you want to learn more about that, it's on our website. But effectively what that does is it links learning. So it takes the view that the soft skills, those of collaboration, of research, of working with other people, of setting time management goals, are as important as the knowledge that is gained in the curriculum. And the two should sit very closely together. So whereas some schools might see the curriculum as working in silos, that it's maths, English and science or whatever, we see it as very much something that one supports the other. So we do take a slightly different view. We're an IB school, and part of this philosophy stems from the fact that we do the IB diploma in sixth form, which by its very nature has quite a connected and sort of rounded approach to education. We use that as an influence that runs all the way from school, right from our junior school, right up to sixth form for those that are doing the IB, but also those that may be doing A-levels or BTEC.
So I think that academic side as well is like really special because you offer the IB program and the A-level program. Can you say how this developed and what kind of subject career would you advise to somebody who should go to A-levels and who should go to IB program at your school? Yeah,
sure. That whole process is quite a lengthy process. So we sit down with students, both those students who are progressing from our fifth form into sixth form, but also new students who are coming from outside. And we really try to find out what their goals and aspirations may be. And from that, we will make a recommendation as to whether A-level will be a good course for them or IB. We tend to find for those that have got a strong linguistic background, and our German students would fall into that category, the IB is a good fit because you have to carry both a native and a learned language, and we offer German A as part of our IB offer. So that is completely taught in German. So it's a fantastically, it's quite a rigorous course, but it's very much favoured by our German-speaking students. Thereafter, for those that want to do A-level, it tends to be those that are a bit more focused on staying in the UK, beyond school, and perhaps have a stronger view of where they want to go, whether it be arts or science, and that they've got more of an indication of that going into sixth form. But for those students, we would also recommend that they do the extended project qualification, which is effectively the same as the extended essay in IB. And again, it's an opportunity for them to develop some independent learning strategies and opportunities, but also link the learning that they're doing in their A-level. So we try, regardless of which program the students go to, whether it's IB or A-level, and we also run BTEC as well, which is a vocational qualification. Wherever they're going, it's going to play to their strengths, both at school to optimise their grades and their academic outcomes, but also sit them in a good position for what they want to do after school.
So what do you think, what characteristics would help them in order that they have a great time at your school? I guess they have to be open, or how would you describe this?
Yeah, I think prepared to commit to the life of the school. And I have to say that by and large our German students are very good at that. Okay. So they come here with a real sense that they want to get the most out of the experience. So they will commit in the classroom, they'll get involved in all the things that are going on there, but they will also commit to the wider life of the school. So whether that's taking part in the equestrian team and doing some horse riding, whether it's taking part in sports school teams, taking part in the orchestra or the choirs or whatever it may be, they feel that they really are hungry to get involved with all the things that school has to offer. And those are the students that get the best out of it. Those that have the most curiosity, the most energy to try new things, perhaps things that they're not familiar with. Those are the ones that really get the best out of it at a school like ours.
If you think, for example, some students who has been at your school, maybe do you have an example of somebody who came to your school and she or he made a really big progress in terms of academic achievement or personal achievement, where you think when the person left your school, there was an incredible development?
Yeah. I mean, I could think of several, but there's maybe a couple that come to mind that are in themselves quite different. So I do remember 2 or 3 years ago when we had our A-level publication day and we invite students in to get their results and to have a cup of tea and a slice of cake and celebrate their success. There was one young man that I was speaking to. I think he was going off to one of the London universities. It might have been the LSE or it might have been UCL. And he looked at his grades. He said, "Do you know what, when I came to this school, I never thought I would be able to achieve those grades." And that meant such a lot to him as an individual, because he saw that all of his hard work and his dedication and also the support that he'd got from his parents and from his teachers at school had all come together and provided him with that passport to go on to the next stage in his life. And that was a lovely thing to see. I think also when I think about an example of another student, and this is one who probably wasn't particularly academic, but was quite a sporty child and had real leadership qualities, and therefore went a different route through their experience and didn't do A-levels but did BTEC instead, and came out as a real shining example of what Sidcot's about, because this was a young man whose values were very much set. He was inspirational to those around him, and just his light was every bit as strong, but just a different kind of light to the other one. And that's where I have the best job in the world, because I see the potential that these young people are able to develop in their time here at Sidcot, and also most importantly where that takes them beyond school.
Okay, great. So you say that this is like why you have the best job in the world, and your child, they went to Sidcot School as well.
Yes, we have 2 children, a son and a daughter. So my daughter left 2 years ago. She's now in her second year at university studying textiles designs, and my son is in upper 6, so he's in his last year, and he's wanted to do something in politics or economics when he leaves school to go to university. 2 very different children, both of which have really enjoyed their time at Sidcot. And I think probably, were my wife here to respond as well, the biggest thing that we've got from their experience has been part of a multicultural international community. So they have really benefited from learning and living side by side with people from around the world. And I think that has developed their view of the world and really contributed to the young people that they are. So yes, we are very fortunate and feel very blessed that they've had the opportunity to come to the school.
Okay, great. And I guess they have now a lot of advantages as well when they are now at university, what is as well an international mix. The world is like an international mix.
And it's not always been the easiest thing having their dad as the headmaster. So, despite that, they've had a fantastic time and they've really enjoyed it.
Great. I watched a few videos on the website. I got the impression that your school tries really to bring out the best out of every child. Can you describe a little bit about this topic? Yeah,
I mean, I think that probably stems back from our admissions process, because when we admitted a student into Sidcot, we are really looking for a closest of fit. So we're looking, on the one hand, that we can support their educational development and that we can continue to help them to realise their academic potential, but them wanting to be here and feeling that they're going to be part of our school community and receive as much as they give. So it's a very equal relationship. It's really important to us. So feeling confident, feeling comfortable, enjoying coming to school, enjoying being in school, particularly if they're a boarder, is really important to us. So when we offer places to students, it's really with these 2 things in mind. Yes, we want them to academically succeed, but also we want them to be happy and confident and comfortable being here.
How would you describe, if German parents send their child to Sidcot, how was the tutoring, how was the pastoral care, how would you describe this?
Sure. So for a German family, because their children will be coming to board, the first port of call will be the boarding house and the housemaster or housemistress. and they would be the people that would be most clear and present in terms of the link with home, but also making sure that they keep an eye on how those in their boarding houses are developing. They are around all the time, so they are very easily attuned to any problems or any nuances of behaviour. If somebody's just not looking very well, or they're just maybe a little bit quiet, the house staff are very good at picking up on these cues and in a very gentle and supportive way just asking, is everything okay? What can we do to support? How can we help? We very much see pastoral care as being a partnership with home. So although parents may be sending their children to board here, it doesn't mean to say that they are cut out of their children's lives. So we have very close contact with the house staff and with home. Thereafter, outside the boarding house, all of the students are given an academic tutor, and the academic tutor is somebody that they will see every day. They'll be registered with them in the morning and the afternoon, and they're responsible for looking after their academic progress. So they will review how they're doing in the different aspects of the curriculum. They'll sit down and have a talk about how they're doing in terms of certain subjects, and where necessary they will set some goals, and if they're required to have a bit more support and maybe some more tuition or whatever it may be to support in particular areas, people will be able to oversee that. But I think pastoral care is very much about a network, and some of the best pastoral care comes from other students who will say, oh, I saw so-and-so in the lunch queue and they were just looking a little bit sad, or so-and-so's clearly had some bad news from home and just needs a little bit of support there. And I think it's being an open community that's there to support each other, and in some ways that refers back to what I was saying about the philosophy of the school. That's the best way to make sure that there's good support. I mean, where necessary, we have more formalised support, so we have a school counsellor that students can self-refer to. We have some Take 10 mentors, and what they do is run in some drop-in sessions where people can go and just have a chat or just work through their kind of any issues or any things that are troubling them. But I think it's making sure that everyone's happiness is everyone's business.
Yes, great. Yes, I can confirm that. We have one student who joined your school, and she came more than 1 week later than the term started. And from the beginning, we, as an agency, got the feedback that she felt incredibly home, right? So this is something, I think what you said, that the house staff is really attentive, and it helped her a lot. Yeah. So if you talk about the tutor, the academic tutor, can you say how often do the tutor is taking, watching the marks of the student, or how often does a student has contact with the tutor?
Well, they have contact with the tutor every day because they are registering with them. There's a tutor period in the morning and a tutor period in the afternoon. There are extended tutor periods over the course of the term where they can sit down and review progress, and we have a grade report which is produced by teachers that will show progress in different subject areas. Once that's been produced, and it's usually about every half term that that's produced, it's an opportunity for the tutor and their tutees to sit down formally and review progress and put in place any support that may be required.
How would you describe to the German audience what they can expect if the child's interested in art?
Yeah, I mean, the arts are a particular strength of the school, as you mentioned, Martin. I think one of the things that makes it so strong is that they take a very individualised approach. We're lucky that we've got a beautiful arts centre, so we've got a ceramics studio, we've got a fine arts studio, we've got a digital media studio, so there's plenty of different aspects of art that young people can get involved in. But we very much take the view that the art comes from within, and we are the facilitators, so we provide the opportunity for young people to find their own way of expressing themselves, and that means that the art that they end up producing is both very individual and very personal to them, but also very interesting. So we don't take a one-size-fits-all attitude. I mean, arguably we don't take that with many things in school, but particularly not the arts, because if you want somebody to be creative, you've got to provide them with the space and the opportunity to nurture that creativity.
And I talked with Elsa that the drama department and the music department is really strong as well. How would you describe these departments?
Yeah, I mean, I think for both of the performing arts department, what we try to do is give as many opportunities for young people to perform as possible. In music, for example, that would be opportunities like going to the Royal Albert Hall to sing in the performance of Handel's Messiah, which we do every year. Sadly, just because of the way things are at the moment, that may not be going ahead this year, but that's something that we've done for the last 5 or 6 years. For the drama department, this year, again, we're not doing it this year, but we will do it next year. We go to the Edinburgh Festival Fringe and we take a group of students there who will perform at the Fringe a piece of their own devised work. So in some ways, the way in which we develop the arts is by giving as many opportunities to do some extension activity, challenging pieces, both in school and outside.
Yeah, I talked with Asa that last year you had a student who had 45 points in the IB, and she said that this reason was because the student really needed as well the side, besides the academic sides, the free time activities, the pastoral care was one of the reasons why the student was so great at school.
Yeah, and it was interesting, in that particular student, she did her IB program and she also did A-level art off timetable. And that's a really interesting one because she got an A for her A-level art alongside 45 out of 45 for her IB. But last year's student was equally impressive. Okay, 44 out of 45 is still a phenomenal score. And she was one of our international students. So she was doing the bulk of her IB in a second language and still got 44 out of 45.
It's amazing. So I think like when parents they think, our child is now an A student in Germany, would you agree that if the child is going to a school which is really great, but the students are diversified, the student will get the A as well, but they are as a diversified school, right? Yes.
Absolutely, and I guess the question that parents would have to ask themselves is, why wouldn't they? So if they're a bright, motivated student and they're in an environment which encourages that and recognises who they are, and I think that's the big difference about Sidcot, is we recognise our students for the individuals that they are. We don't assume that one size fits all.
What would you say to the parents who have a child which is now in Germany really academically great, and you said that your school is selective, but not that you say that you only take the A-level students? What would you say to them if they are thinking between a school maybe who's like 90% of the students has A-levels, A's and A pluses, or to a school, for example, like Sidcot, which is more diversified? What would you say to them, to the parents who are still thinking which school should be the ideal fit?
Yeah, I think they need to look past the league tables, because ultimately the experience of the young person will be far more determined by the ethos of the school. So we have a broader intake of students than perhaps some other schools do, but nonetheless we have enough support and challenge in what we're doing. So our A-level results are consistently above national average. Last year in our IB, our top performer got 44 out of 45, and the previous year our top performer got 45 out of 45. So we feel quite confident that whatever the ability level may be of the school, of the student rather, the school is there to make sure that they optimise their outcomes. But it's how they do it is the most important thing. So we don't believe in pressurising students, we don't believe in hot-housing them. We encourage them to think for themselves and to have the space and the challenge to think about their studies, but also think about who they are and the world around them. So we like to think that our students are very well contextualised in their learning, and it's not just all about drilling them through exams, because ultimately they won't have that support when they leave school. They need to be able to think for themselves, they need to be independent and autonomous in their learning, and we want to encourage those skills and develop those skills at school every bit as much as the academic outcomes, which I would say are as strong here as they are anywhere else. And so thinking about sending their children to the UK, really do need to do their homework, need to work with their agents and find out where's the closest fit going to be. Because it's knowing their child, knowing the school, and making sure that you've got the best fit between the school and the personality of the child, because that's where they will thrive and be successful in a way that if you get that wrong, they will not have a great outcome.
So maybe can you say something about yourself? What is your background? Because I think this what you bring as a headmaster to the school shines down to the concept of the school. So I think this might be really interesting as well for our audience.
Right, well, I wonder how interesting my story will be, but I'm very happy to share it. So when I was at school, I was that archetypal child that got to the end of school and didn't know what he wanted to do. So I didn't go from school direct to university. I went into finance and into banking, and I did what I guess would be called now a sort of apprenticeship. So I worked for a major clearing bank for 4 or 5 years, and then decided that I didn't want to work in banking for the rest of my life, and at that point went to university. So I studied English at university because it was my absolute passion when I was at school. Decided from that to go to teacher training college and to train as a teacher, and then started working first of all in a boarding school in Scotland. And I was there for about 8 or 9 years, and latterly as a housemaster. From that, I then went to become a head. So I was head of a school in Scotland. It was a relatively small day school. And thereafter, after about 7 or 8 years, I decided I wanted to try somewhere else, and came down to Sidcot. I have to say, absolutely fell in love with the school, fell in love with the area, and I've been here ever since. So my journey through education has probably been a slightly different one. It's not the traditional route. I feel very grateful for all the opportunities that I've had. I feel particularly privileged to be here at Sidcot.
Great.